I thought I would share with you a coffee filter flower tutorial, and this is to make coffee filter carnations. And before you think, why bother making carnations? They're so inexpensive and you can get them all year round. And the reason is because they are the easiest flower that I've made to date. The results are very realistic. They are the fastest flower I have ever made, and there's no glue involved. So they're very easy. You can make a lot of them and they become very, very beautiful and effective when gathered in a bunch. Let me show. And with one simple flower, you can make an array of arrangements. Ways that you can apply these simple little flowers and create your own beautiful bouquets. It's super easy, so let's get started. All you're going to need is some coffee filters, and those are for a 4-cup basket, so they're slightly smaller than the other ones we used in the rose tutorial. We're going to need some good scissors to cut. We're also going to need some pinking shears, and this is the secret tool that is going to give all that definition to our petals. We'll need some needle nose pliers, a plier that will cut our wire, some floral tape, and I've got some wires here. The floral wire is 18 gauge, and I've also bought floral wire that comes already wrapped with the floral tape, and then we're just going to need some food coloring, and that's it. Oh, and a couple of sponges. So let's get started. So as you can see, there aren't a lot of materials or tools that are necessary, and you can create something like this. Can you guess which carnation is real? Well, if you guessed this one, you would be right. So let's put that off to the side. Now, when I say easy, I really do mean easy. These are 3 coffee filters to make 1 flower, and all you need is 2 patterns. You can't even really call it a pattern because they're just 2 little folded coffee filters that have a line across. And what we're going to do is when we cut out our petals, we're going to be using the pinking shears, which is what is actually giving us all the texture on the rim of the carnations. So I'm going to show you how to make a 2-petal carnation, which is a little tiny one, a 3-petal carnation, 4 and 5. Now we've got our coffee filter, and all you need is 3 coffee filters, 3. And you're going to take your first coffee filter. I mean, there's nothing easier than this. And you're going to fold it in half. Fold it in a quarter. Fold it in 8ths, and fold it in 16ths. So when you open it up, you're going to have 16 divisions, as you can see here. But before we do that, we're just going to fold it up. So we've got our 1 coffee filter folded in 16ths. And then we're going to take our 2 coffee filters, fold those in half, fold them into quarters, and then fold it into 8ths. Super easy. So you've got 1 that's folded in 8ths and 1 that's folded in 16ths. So when you fold these, you're going to want, and I'll post this on the website, but you want 2.5 inches from the point up And you're just going to make a slight curve on it with your pen, one side by side. It's not a big deal. Just draw a curve like that. You're going to take your little 1/16, and again, from the highest point down, it's 2.5 inches. And you just want to line up your two little pieces and go ahead and just draw in this little angle. It's very simple. So once you've got those drawn in, so I've got my 2 petals here, or 2 coffee filters and 1 coffee filter. You're going to take your pinking shears and you're just going to follow this line. And then you're just going to boink, boink. Just trim off those 2 little edges. So when you open it up, it's going to look like this. Like that. And then all you're going to do is, once you have this, you're going to come back and take your scissors and you're going to cut about 1 inch down into it, like that. So you've just cut 1 inch down into it. You can see how the petals, you've just cut 1 inch down into it. And we're going to put these 2 little petals off to the side. We're going to do the same thing with our little tiny one. We take our pinking shears and we're just going to follow that outline. It's actually, and you want to just nip off the little side pieces. And actually, if you go back in and trim it off more, you even get more of a scalloped edge, which makes it even more realistic. So don't worry about not getting it exactly perfect. The imperfections are actually work in your favor. So again, we're just going to cut 1 inch down into the petals. So we have 1 petal like this, or 1 coffee filter like that, and we've got 2 that are like this. And that's all we need, 3 of these to make our flower. Now don't throw away these little pieces, because they act as a great way to test out your colors. So we're going to just save those for a minute. So we've got our 3, so we have our 3 petals, and I'm just going to refold them back into their original form, like this. Just fold them back up. So now we've got this and that, and now we're going to color. So in order to color these, you notice these aren't like the other coffee filter flowers that I made, that all the coffee filters were pre-dyed. This we're going to dye as we go along. It couldn't be easier. And all I've done is I've taken some a sponge that I bought from the dollar store. You can buy 7 for $1.25 or whatever, and just cut it into cubes. And I've made my colors, and basically you're going to just be creative and make whatever colors that you like. The more concentrated the color is, obviously the darker it's going to be on the flowers, which is how I was able to attain these darker tones. So you can use it like that, but essentially all you want to do, I'm just using a little sandwich bag so I don't get my fingers dirty. All you want to do is take your little petal like this, and you're just going to dab the edges. That's it. There. Now the longer, or if you want more color on your carnation, then you're going to dab it a little bit lower down into your paper. And the same with the inside part, the inside petal, and you can see that, whoops, uh-oh. Well, I guess that got the full amount. You just want to make sure though that when you are doing it, that you are getting all the layers of the little petals. So then all you do is, if you're making this to test out a flower, then you can use a blow dryer and just dry it up quickly. But I put some in the oven. I just turn the oven on to 225 or 250. I put them on a tray. I can open them up like this, and in 5 minutes they're dry. So if you're making a lot of them, and I usually make 6 of the carnations at a time, I just kind of cut everything out in advance and have it all organized. I will use the cookie tray and just put them in for 5 minutes or whatever to dry them up. So now we've got our 2 petals that are dried with the dye, and we're just going to open it up. Like this. And you're just going to grab it by the little point, and you just want to funnel it, squeeze it down, because you're creating texture. This is going to be texture for all those little flowers. And then just twist it. So that's all you want to do. And we'll do the same with the 2 outside petals. I mean, this couldn't be easier. This tutorial, or making these flowers, you can make them so quickly. I'm not even sitting down to do it because I can do it so easily standing up. So you just want to create a funnel, squish it down to create all those little wrinkles and veins. Twist it and throw it off to the side. So we're doing that with each of the petals. Squish it down like so, and just twist it so that we're creating a lot of texture. And then you want to just open it up, because really all we've done is created some texture in our petals. And that's it. Just open it up a bit, flare out the petals a little bit to this extent, but this is what you want. You want all those wrinkles and lumps and bumps. Well, there's no bumps, but you want the wrinkles. Same thing. So open up your flower, just gently pry apart the petals. And this is the little one. We're going to do the same. Oops. You don't want to pull it too hard because you might tear these little guys. And you just want to position them so that they're looking like a flower. So now we've got our 3 filters. And all we're going to do, in order to make the shorter bouquets, I've actually just taken my floral wire, which is here. And this is just my 18 gauge floral wire. And they're 18 inches long. So I just came in, I cut them in half, but this is going to depend on how long you want it. But I can tell you that 9 inches of wire, and you'll probably have to cut it up, is perfect for small arrangements. So then all you're going to do is take your wire and your needle nose, and you need to create the little loop, because we're not using any glue at all. We're just going to be wrapping the flower, and we're going to wrap it around this, and this holds the flower in place. So now we've got our little loop, and then we're just going to take a piece of the floral wire or floral tape. And if you're not familiar with floral tape, it has some stretch. It's just tape that has a waxy coating on it. And then all you're gonna do, and this is really easy because I know some of the people from the last tutorial were having a little bit of difficulty wrapping the tape, but you're just going to wrap it right over that loop, and you're going to pull with your left and turn with your right, or if you're left-handed doing it the opposite way, you're pulling with one, stretching the tape slightly, and turning with the other. And it just, this is somewhat tacky, and we're gonna need that because we need the coffee filter flower to adhere to something initially. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take the inside petal, which is this little guy, and we're just going to pierce it in the middle. And you don't wanna make a huge hole. You just wanna bring it up, and we're going to bring it up about 1 inch inside the flower. So 1 inch, you see the wire is in there, and you just want to funnel it. So you're gonna have about, you want about, there's where the wire is. So you want about a good inch of wire, and then you're just going to squeeze the flower around that wire, hold it by the collar, and twist it because you want it kind of sticking to this. And that's great. And then we're gonna come in, and this is the second petal. We're gonna do the same thing. And we're only gonna go to the bottom of where the last one was, but we want to kind of, you wanna make sure that the petals are all even, because that is going to give us the shape of the carnation. So as you can see, the petals are, they're pretty even. And then we just want to squish. You don't want to start turning at this point because you want to make sure that all those petals aren't turned all the way around. So you just want to hold the petals in place like this. I just hold it with one hand and twist this side just so I've got a grip here. And then we're going to do the same thing with the third petal. Just insert it like this. Make sure it's, yep, it's equal. And then just kind of squish it down like this without disturbing or turning the flower too much. And then just twist this part like this. So we've got about right here, this little collar, we've got about 1 inch. This is what we're going to wrap with some floral tape. So we're gonna take a small piece of floral tape, about that much. And this is much easier to do than the other flowers because it adheres to the coffee filter. And you just want to tightly, not too tight that you rip the tape, but you want to tightly make sure that this collar is nice and tight against the floral wire. And you're going to turn it, and pull it so that that collar that you've just added flares right into the floral wire. So you can see it's beginning to look like a carnation. And at this point, you want to just turn the little petals. You don't want to overdo it so that you are removing all that texture that you've just created, but you just want to have the little petals oriented in the right direction so that they're flaring up like this, like this, like that. Now, if you left it like this, it looks realistic and you can see the size. But what I find is after I make the flower like that, I'll go in and just pinch around the collar just a little bit more. And you can see that the flower goes from this to when you pinch it, it goes into that. So it becomes not only more, it becomes more compact, but it becomes more like a carnation. So after I've pinched that extra little bit, I'll come in with another little piece of tape, and I'm just going to add it to that little extra edge on the collar, and I'm just going to flare it out. But that extra pinch really is what creates a beautiful little carnation. And then to finish it off, I just kind of hold it in, cuff it in my hand, and then you just maybe want to give it a little poof poof and curl those little edges so that they're not so harsh. And that is it. That is the carnation. I think it's super effective, and anybody can do this. So let me show you again. So I've got 3 coffee filters. This is 2 coffee filters. You can see the difference in size. And again, pinch that collar up to really tighten it if you want to make a tiny little carnation, which is adorable. And the variation in sizes make the bouquets way more interesting. This is 3 coffee filters. Is this 3 coffee filters? Hold on. No, sorry. So this is 3 coffee filters. It's the same size as this. We use 3 to make that. I use 3 coffee filters to make this. And then I've got this one. Now this is with 4 coffee filters. You can see it's a little bit larger still. And then this one is made with 5 coffee filters. So it's bigger still. So that gives you an indication of how you can apply this. Now with regards to the dyeing of the color, you can create this variated 2-tone look by just using a very small amount, concentrated amount of color just on the edges, like I've done here. So when you open it up, the majority of it is white and just the edge is dark. But like I said, if you want a full color, such as this, then you would saturate the flower until the color actually went all the way down to the bottom of the petal, and then you would get a more concentrated look, as in here. So the color is just infused more so into the filter. We're not going to really see this part because this is going to be covered by our floral wire. So let me do that again. Now if you want to make a long stem carnation, I bought these stems that they're already covered with, I don't know that it's floral tape because it does not have any, it's not sticky at all. So it's very important that if you do use these, you go over it with the floral tape. And the reason for that is because the floral tape has that waxy finish, which becomes sticky, and you need that for the first petals to adhere to the stick, so, or to the wire. So you would do the same thing, cover it totally. You don't have to go that far down, actually, but you want this to be sticky so that when we add our petals, it's going to, and we bunch it up around there, it's going to adhere to this. Now, a word of advice, when I made my coffee filter flowers, well, I'll show you. Whoops. When I made the coffee filter flowers, I'll make a long stem coffee filter flower or carnation, so that you scrunch them up, twist them, and as you can imagine, you can make a lot of these flowers very quickly. And it's really effective when you bunch up 24 carnations. But they are very effective when you use them in just very small amounts. Okay, so all we've done, we've squished it. Open it up, we've got our one exterior petals, like so. But you're going to have to make a hole in advance because it's hard to push this through, and you don't want to rip the paper too much. So I just make a little hole, whoops, with the other wire, and then again, I only want to go up that far. So the wire is only going up that far, and we want to bunch it up, twist in order to secure that to the stem. And then we're going to do the same thing the next filter. And you want it to be, the petals to be level, like so. Grab it, squish it. I can feel the little knot that we did there. So I'm trying to stay close to that because this helps grip the flower and enable it to stay put on the stem because we're not using any glue. There we go, the second petal. So it flares onto this. And again, we're using 3 of the coffee filters, which is going to give us this, but you would just keep adding a 4th and a 5th, however many that you would want in order to make your flower. But it gets to a point that the more petals you add, the thicker this becomes, and maybe it's not as attractive. So we want to bring this up to around the collar, like this. Make it nice and tight. Flare it out onto the stem, like so. And now you can just semi-arrange the petals like this, going around the flower, just opening them up so that they make sense. They're not all curled. So this looks quite wide spread, but that's because we haven't come in and squeezed out this collar a little bit more. And then we're just going to add the tape. And this is much easier to do after you've secured the petals than to try and do it right off the bat. Plus, when you do it a little bit lower, it gives you a chance to kind of manipulate the petals a little bit more and turn them the way that they make sense or that you like. So then you just cup your little petals. And in this case, sometimes you may find that in twisting the flower that you end up with a wonky long petal. Well, you can always just come in and trim it off. There. This becomes a long stem carnation. And I think that looks pretty fancy. Like this. So that's the other way to do it. So you've got one flower that's on a long stem, and then you've got your little tiny flower. I made these flowers, and the color was a little bit too strong. So you can be creative and come back in and dye the flowers with a different color. Or I just took a mist, water mist, and misted the flowers, and you'd be surprised as these dry, and I'll just put them off to the side so it can dry in a cup. As it dries, the food coloring actually starts to be absorbed further down, and the color becomes more muted and more realistic. So that was another little trick. There's all different kinds of ways that you can definitely color these so that they are as easy as 1, 2, 3. Now let me show you now the fun part. Let me show you some of the applications. So this is just a little head garland that I've just attached all the carnations, then came around and used the floral wire and then just wrapped some of my little ribbon. And this just sits on your head perfectly, and it's tied at the back. And this is perfect for a flower girl, for a child's giveaway birthday party, for any kind of occasion. If you're getting together with the girls, you're having a midnight summer's dream party, any of those applications are great. I've also used an heirloom china teacup. Isn't that pretty? So this is just the smaller carnations. Some of them I only used 2 coffee filters for in order to create the variation in size. The rest is just filler from the dollar store, some greens, some beads. But what a beautiful way to make use of all those beautiful china teacups that you may have sitting in the curio. Why not pass it down to someone that you love? It makes a wonderful gift, and you can even add some beautiful tea along with it. I've also made another bouquet, which is perfect for a bathroom or a bedside table. And this is only, look, there's only 3 carnations. There's 2 long stem roses from the other video if you're interested in knowing how to make that. But look how beautiful that is. And it's just in a champagne glass. This was actually the first bouquet I made, but this kind of is a beautiful spring bouquet or any time of the year bouquet. And I've just added some dollar store filler that's plastic. I've made a couple of hydrangeas, just added 6 of these beautiful carnations, and I love the color combination. It really says spring. Just a fancy little bouquet to have in your home. If you're looking for a more simplistic or a country style, this is just little yellow carnations. I've used some filler from the dollar store, and I put it in my vintage pitcher. And this makes for a beautiful gift, or it looks great just to have in your kitchen. And for the minimalist, if you didn't want to dye your coffee filters at all, then you could just make a beautiful bouquet of white carnations. And again, the filler is just from the dollar store, and this looks exquisite on a dining room table. For those seasonal gifts, why not a cute little mug for, nobody wants to talk about Christmas, but we'll just talk about it very quickly. This is a beautiful make ahead little keepsake for a Christmas gift. And you could certainly add fudge to this or some of your famous homemade powdered cocoa. So as you can see, there are so many different applications to use these flowers. So where you may have thought that the carnation was maybe underwhelming, I think that it can be really beautiful depending on how you use it in your application with just one simple flower. So if you like this tutorial and you think you'll make these, I hope you share it. Enjoy, happy flower making. Look at all these flowers.